the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Jimmy Butler has spread his cancer all over the Heat, and he has ruined their season. I do believe they'll never recover from this disastrous guy that is, purged on him. I mean, he's ruined. Like, they don't matter anymore at all. Like, I watched them play last night. They suck.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
You know, they have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year they start turning the corner, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. The pits, the players, the hustlers, the people, the busters, and everybody else in between. Let's do this thing. The Twisted Tuesday has begun, and we really are stacked on the program tonight on the SportsGrid Radio and Television Networks, Sirius XM, Channel 159. It's kind of the calm before the storm this week. There's no NHL hockey. There's no NBA basketball going on right now. College basketball taking center stage. Major League Baseball spring training has begun. Cactus League and Grapefruit League games start on Friday/Saturday this weekend. There will be baseball that'll be played daily from here on out, albeit exhibition baseball. The Four Nations is kind of resonating large right now. Now, it's too bad that we're not playing the game tomorrow night. There should have been a quicker turnaround than Monday to Thursday for the final, but it is what it is. It gives both teams an opportunity to get healthier. Although there were a couple of stories today as far as the Four Nations was concerned, and both turned out not to be really true. Sort of true, but not really true. And I don't think it was a great day for hockey media today. And it's, listen, I'm not on the beat. I'm not reporting who's on what plane and who's going where. And I'm falling for the stories like everybody else is. So we wake up to the news that Quinn Hughes will be joining Team USA, and there was an original sort of outrage. Even Team Canada coach John Cooper said, like, what do you mean? Like, how, like what? He's playing? Like, he's allowed to play? You had to lose multiple players to be allowed to replace somebody. And, like, losing one defenseman's not enough. Like, so McAvoy is out. Okay, but, you're not allowed to bring somebody else in unless you lose somebody else. And Team Canada found themselves in the same position, right? They lost Theodore in the first game, and then McCarr got sick, and they had to deal with it. And so there was a lot of sort of, like eyebrows raised here about like, well, Canada wasn't replacing people in the same way you're calling Hughes up, but Hughes was on the team. He got injured. Listen, the whole thing is stupid to begin with. I don't know why they made it like so hard to replace players. Like, I don't know why they didn't consider, players could get hurt. And this whole, if it's an emergency and it's the championship game, they'll make an exception. Now, it was reported that Quinn Hughes, and hell, I saw the coach of the Team USA, Sullivan, was saying, yeah, Quinn Hughes is going to join us. Yet here's Quinn Hughes on the ice today with the Vancouver Canucks at practice. So suddenly, I don't know, it's a pretty long flight. Like, what's he going to show up an hour before the game on Thursday? Not to mention, Quinn Hughes is actually hurt, right? So he is injured for real. It's not like he's faking it. He's injured. So he had the red non-contact jersey on today in practice with the Vancouver Canucks, as NHL teams are practicing again as of today. So, you know, everybody is still wondering right now. A lot of people are sort of expecting and joking that Sanderson is going to be the one that gets thrown under the bus, and, oh, there's an illness that's going around the team, and Sanderson's sick. I think that the Team USA, I think they're aware. Like, they sort of know that, all right, people are going to know we're lying about this. Like, short of, I don't know, like Matthew Tkachuk, like, shooting a puck in Sanderson's face tomorrow in practice, right? Like, what are they going to do? They're going to pretend? Which would, like, it's kind of, let's just call it out for what it is, be pretty unethical if you're pretending injuries right now at this point. Yet, also, Hughes hasn't played hockey in the entire tournament. The guy's on the West Coast. He's in Vancouver right now. That's a long-ass flight to Boston, and he hasn't played. I don't think he's going to play. Now, I say this honestly. If I was them, I would do it. Right? You know, the problem is, like I said, I think they're aware. They don't want to be called out on this. Right? They don't want to be like, oh, you know what, we're faking injuries and, you know, we have to manipulate our roster. I think if Canada was in the same spot, they probably would do it. Right? I mean, it's for the betterment of the team, right? Who's the best player? And it's not like you're bringing this guy from another league or something like that. I'm saying this honestly, like Quinn Hughes was already on the damn team to begin with. Right? He got injured. He was out. So it's not like they're bringing in some sort of ringer. I mean, the guy was on the team. So it is what it is. Whatever happens, you know, you're going to have to deal with it, right? But like I said, as good as he is, the dude hasn't played hockey in a little while right now, and he's on the West Coast. So for what it's worth, I don't think he's going to play. You know, like I said, I think the U.S. knows that everyone's just going to think they're lying about the injury, right? So, and they would be, because they don't have any injured defensemen. We know that Brady Tkachuk is beat up. We know that Matthew Tkachuk is beat up. We know that Austin Matthews is injured. And we know McAvoy's out. They don't have any, like, they would be lying. They'd be making it up. You know, it would go against the sort of the ethics of this, but hey, it is what it is, right? It's, you know, they're trying to win. And the other big story of the day, which really wasn't kind of true either, which it was easy to fall for because you wouldn't figure that the Daily Beast, a non-sports site, right? A Daily Beast, a pop culture and political site, a popular site, a credible site generally, although somewhat sort of tabloidish at the same point in time, had a headline that U.S. General Manager Bill Guerin is inspired by Trump wanting Canada to vote to be a 51st state. And he was inspired by the political rhetoric. And it really was a misrepresentation of the interview that he did on Fox. He never said that they were inspired by Trump's rhetoric. He said that they were inspired by getting booed. Right? There's a big difference. And no shock that, yeah, it's going to inspire anyone that's getting booed. So he said, yeah. And he basically said, listen, you know, USA and Canada is always going to be a very heated hockey rivalry. He goes, there's a lot of political stuff going on right now, and it just sort of adds to it. But he never came out and said they were inspired by this. It really was a misrepresentation of his comments. There really was nothing offensive about what he said when it was all said and done. And anyone's going to be inspired, your national anthem gets booed, whatever the reason is for it. Like, you know, you can pretend why it is and isn't, but it is what it is. And the same thing will happen on Thursday night. Right? Like I said on Saturday, don't boo the anthem. You're just going to motivate the players. Right? The anthem got booed when the USA played in their first game against Finland. And it upset them then. Right? You could tell it upset them, and it just sort of rattled them, and they admitted after the game that it really got them fired up before they dropped the puck. And they were already fired up. These players are already fired up, but they're human beings. Like, you think, oh, no, like, these guys don't need any extra motivation and stuff. It's like, yeah, they do. Like, they do, right? There's a reason why it's called bulletin board material. There's a reason why coaches don't like when players say things and or, now you got executives talking, and Canada will definitely be taking notice of everything that's being said and everything. Like, they're aware of everything. This is going to be a massively intense game on Thursday night in Boston. Andrew McKinnis will step up in it and join us. McKinnis is going to be in attendance. He's a hardcore hockey fan. Props to him. He put his money where his mouth is, and now he's going to get to be at, like, arguably the game of the century. Basically, it's the biggest game since the Vancouver Olympics with Sidney Crosby scoring the goal against the U.S. This is pretty much as big as it gets for U.S. and Canada right now. And the turmoil will die down by the time the Olympics come around next year, right? So this kind of really is as intense as it's going to get. All right, speaking of intense, Big Ten basketball, intense. We got Wisconsin and Illinois on the board right now. We're on the Badgers in this game. We're tracking it. BYU is routing the Jayhawks as we said they would last night. Let's roll. This is SportsRage.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency, the Pittsburgh Players, the Hustlers, the people to bust them, and everybody else in between. We got college basketball going on right now. A couple of routes going on. The Houston Cougars are on the road in Arizona. They handled Arizona the other day in a close one. Now they're throttling Arizona State. They were laying 12 and a half or so. They're up by 16 right now at the half. It was pretty wild, actually. Virginia Tech only had 11 points at the half. They literally scored 11 points in the first half. They've already scored 9 points in 4 minutes, which is pretty wild. Like, clearly, like there was a wake-up call here. After scoring 11 points in 20 minutes, they've already scored 9 points in less than 4 minutes time. In-game total is 111.5 right now in Virginia Tech and Boston College. They're up to 53. It's 33-20. I think there's going to be an instance where you're going to see a bunch of points scored here. Virginia Tech, like I said, have already scored 9 points. I'm going to jump in on the over 111.5 in-game in this game. We're on BYU. We talked about Kansas last night extensively, and they just moved it to 114.5 already. Damn. We talked about Kansas last night not being the same Kansas Jayhawk team and kind of being in a tough spot after playing at Utah on Saturday night. Now tonight, still in the state of Utah, playing against BYU, and BYU are pounding them right now, 52-29. So the BYU Cougars are rolling. No NBA basketball tonight, college basketball, Wisconsin and Illinois. We also talked about this game last night. Illinois were a good team earlier this year, one of the better teams in the country. Injuries have caught up to them. They're only 3-3 straight up in their last 6 games. And they have beaten Wisconsin 9 straight times. So tonight was payback. This is a good Badger team. Badgers are laying 4. They're up by 12 right now. 69-57 with 10.5 left. Total was 161.5 in this game. Pretty high number. In-game total is currently 173.5 right now. So it is on pace. Calm before the storm with the Four Nations. We got some CONCACAF Champions Cup soccer going on as MLS teams are sort of back after their 2-week off-season layoff. MLS soccer is back. Like, dear God, these guys play, like, way too much. And they've started already, but they're playing Champions Cup soccer. The Rapids and LAFC are in action right now as we speak. We're fired up for the Four Nations championship game. We wish it was tomorrow night just to get it over with, because I think there's going to be a war soon over this stuff. Like, people need to chill out. The intensity is getting bigger and bigger. And it's almost like too much by the time Thursday is going to get here. Like, there can't be any more, like, energy and animosity in the air right now. And I see they're talking to Quinn Hughes as we speak, who's in Vancouver right now and hasn't played hockey, actually, as well. And I talked about this. Quinn Hughes has not played a hockey game since January the 31st, New Year's Eve. He's not playing on Thursday. They're not just going to drop him on the ice. And not to mention the criticism of being called out for basically faking an injury, which is what they would have to do. Although I tweeted this earlier in the day today, I said, I don't know, are the Las Vegas Golden Knights running Team USA? Because if they were, Sanderson's got food poisoning right now. Andrew McKinnis ready to step up and in. Cam Stewart in the house. Good to see you, McKinnis. Good to see you, Cam. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm excited. Doing very well, guys. Look, for better or for worse, hockey's popping right now, especially after LeBron had a sore ankle on the weekend. All the attention towards the NHL. I love it. Good pub, bad pub, whatever it is. People are talking about hockey right now. You guys know I love that.
You can't just talk about the Four Nations without taking a shot at LeBron James. What LeBron do? It's like, LeBron, I didn't even get to that whole stuff. Like, people complain. Dude, LeBron played in 20 consecutive All-Star games. You think the guy wanted his streak to end? Like, like, seriously. Like, whatever LeBron does, people cry. Like, no matter what he does, people complain.
Great entrepreneur. I want to defend him on. I defend him on. You could defend him on a lot of things. I won't bat for him defending that.
What, like, what, you think he faked an injury?
They forced his hand. They got a date him for the playoffs.
I don't think he faked an injury. I don't think he faked an injury, but I don't think he
went to the All-Star game. He went to the All-Star game.
If you couldn't make tonight's show on SportsGrid, would you say you were sick an hour before the show, or would you tell them in the morning you're sick?
I've never missed one show in my career for being sick.
It depends if you got a stomach.
At 23 years. But
you're a better man than him. You're a better man than him.
I'm not saying that. No, he made the decision. He wanted to play, and he made the decision like an hour before. Like he could have, like people said, oh, he should have told him before. He didn't know before, right? I mean, the guy's there. What does he have to, like, do you think he wants people, like, bitching and crying? Like, I mean, it's just so stupid anyways. People don't even care about these all-star games, and then they're upset that, oh, he was in street clothes after. But I was just, the one thing I would, like, not question is LeBron's passion for basketball. You know what? There's one guy today was Miller, who played in the league, who doesn't seem to like LeBron very much. So he's always sort of got an anti-LeBron take. But maybe he's right. He played in the NBA. I didn't. And he said that LeBron didn't play, not because he was injured, but LeBron didn't want to play against G League guys.
That actually makes sense. I can actually buy into that.
He was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not playing against this rising star G League stuff. Like, this is not an all-star game.
Because they're going to bring their best. Let's see if he gets burnt once. He's like, oh, image. Like that's the whole thing, right? So, yeah.
No, it wasn't his image. What does he care about his image, Cam? He's like the arguably the greatest player ever to play the game.
No, but I'm saying,
not about his image.
If a G League guy, like, put, these
no,
guys
he thought it was beneath him. That's what Miller said, that he thought it was beneath him, that he was like, I'm not playing against these dudes. This is stupid, right?
Do you think Kobe Bryant would have thought it was beneath him? Do you think Kobe Bryant would have said, you guys came here, people paid and traveled to come see me, but I had a sore ankle?
Kobe would have been the type to drop 100 on them and say, you see, you don't belong here, punk.
That's a good point.
That's the difference, right?
That's true.
All right, we'll hit the Four Nations on the other side.
Slow play, drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scavern, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn, we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience, who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. All right. Let's get to the Four Nations. Forget about LeBron James. Although Kenyon Martin had a really funny, there was a laugh out loud video of Kenyon Martin talking about John Morant's father on the Gilbert Arenas podcast today. That was just like literally had me howling as well. But all right, that's enough of that. We got the Four Nations. McKennis, let me ask you, how much did you pay McKennis for your tickets when you bought the tickets at the time?
I think it was around like $850 American.
For how
two
many?
tickets, lower
For two.
lower bowl, 2 tickets.
Oh
two,
my
yeah,
God.
2 tickets, lower bowl.
Now, say he
Yeah, I
invested. See, great point, Gabe. Say he invested and say Canada's going to play USA in Boston in the final, and you actually bought 4 or 6 if you could, and then just live on your next hockey trip off them, right, Gabe? Like, what's lower bowl going for now? 25?
A lot
of
same
money.
Tickets that I bought for my old man and I are going for $2,500 to $3,000 a pop right now, minimum. I told my old man, I said, if you want to go to Mexico and hang out on the beach for a month with me, we could do that instead of the game. But you know what? Somebody could offer me a house, and I'd say no. I'm going to this game. I mean, I'm so fired up for it.
People won't get that much. The price is going to come down a little bit, but you got a great. It was very smart of you. You know what was crazy is the prices for the Montreal game were always high to begin with, right? And it ended up getting higher. Like, that was the whole thing, like, with the ticket prices. It became, like, such a hot ticket Saturday night. Like, it went from, like, 500 to get in, to 600 to get in, to 700 to get in, to 800 to get in, to 900 to get in, to 1,200 to get in on Saturday in Montreal. Just kept on climbing through the day. And I was amazed when I saw the ticket prices in Boston because, like McKinnon said, basically they were going for like $250 like last week for this Thursday night game in Boston. And now, but like I said, they're starting to come down just because somebody is asking. Like, you're not getting $3,000-$4,000 for a hockey ticket. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because you know what the thing is? I heard him talking about this, like, oh, the best seats in the house. There are no real best seats in the house at a hockey game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like there's no arguing. Like a football stadium, it's like, yeah, you're on the lower bowl in the 50-yard line. There's no disputing it. Hockey, it's like, yeah, okay, you could be at center ice, but it's just as cool to be in a corner in the lower bowl. Mm-hmm. You could be behind the net. Like you could be center ice in the upper deck, McKinnis. You know what I'm saying? And it's just as good. You know, I went to a Canuck game like 2 years ago, and I was crying the whole time before I got there about having a bad ticket. Because I took 3 people, so I paid for 4 tickets. So I cheaped out, and I got tickets in the upper deck. And I was like, I haven't sat up here in years. Like I didn't even know. Like I didn't know what a bathroom was up there. I was like, I don't know. I've never been up here in this arena before. But I was literally in the front row, center ice of the upper deck. And I was like, yeah, you know what? These are damn good. It's like basically better than the press box, like the view. So that's my whole point. Like, no one's going to say, oh, I have to sit on the center ice and pay $4,000. Like, no, I'll pay $900 and sit in the corner, right? And I'm seeing right now the tickets have gone down from $1,200 to $900 already. They won't come down too much more now, but, you know, people got excited. The brokers got excited and charged a lot, but now reality's kicking in a little bit.
I got to tell you guys, too, the ultimate goal, Gabe, great point. You want the lower, like when the sections in the arena, you know, from the form and everything at the Gardens, you get greens and you're one off the other one in the, you know what I mean? And that guy's paying $250 more. He's 1 seat up from us. We're at the bottom of the third worst section or whatever. We got the same seats as the guy in the second best level and we're right behind him. That's the whole key. Getting right in the first couple rows of that section and save yourself a few. And you used to, and sometimes you're right. I stay in the nosebleeds. I hang out with Vince at the game when we go to Leaf games because they're like $500, $600 tickets. Like it's fun up there. People are partying and drinking and stuff like that. I tend to have a good time in those seats. That's my take. I love them.
So today there was a lot of controversy about Quinn Hughes, and we see that Quinn Hughes is still in Vancouver right now. He practiced with the Canucks today, but he was in a red non-contact jersey. And as I say to him, because he hasn't played since January 31st. He hasn't played since New Year's Eve. Like, there was a lot of hype, and the hockey media, I don't know what the hell Sullivan's talking about, unless they're secretly flying him in right now. But I don't know what that whole story was about today. You know, we woke up to Quinn Hughes is on his way to Boston to, no, he's not. Quinn Hughes is practicing with the Vancouver Canucks this afternoon, right? And it's 3,000 plus miles away. It's not a quick flight. So, like, if he's going to Boston, like, when's he going to Boston? We'll hit this on the other side.
slow play drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Govern, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. Cam's congratulating McKinnis and like he should. All right, he bought tickets in advance, but he didn't buy extra tickets, Cam, to sell. That
I know. Yes, you're right. But he still did well though, Morency. He still came in at a lower price, and they're worth.
That's what I actually did. That's what I actually did at the Rose Bowl. Although it wasn't by design fully. Like I was planning on just going with people I knew in LA or whatnot. So I bought tickets to the Rose Bowl in like December. Or like late November type of deal. Like as soon as the Rose Bowl tickets officially went on sale, I got them like from the Rose Bowl site type of deal. And I had no idea if Michigan was going to make the Rose Bowl, right? I was hoping, like I sort of knew, all right, if they make the playoffs, they will be in the Rose Bowl. But there was a lot at stake. They had to beat Ohio State. This is when the playoffs, it wasn't as easy to get in. You couldn't lose like a bunch of games. And so I risked it too. And it ended up paying for itself after because for one reason or another, people couldn't go, this and that, and I really didn't care. So I ended up selling the 3 other tickets. And I didn't cash in, though, like as much as the 4 Nations, but I paid like pretty cheap for the Rose Bowl tickets. Like, I think I paid like $140 a ticket. It was like $170 with tax or something like that for per ticket. And I charged $500 a ticket after. I sold 3 tickets for like $500 each. So I got $1,500 back and I paid. So I basically made like $1,300. And it was funny because I was sitting with the people I sold the tickets to at the game. So, like Buddy's there. And I said, where'd you get your ticket? He goes, I just bought it off of StubHub this morning or last night. I said, yeah, you bought it from me. I said, you bought it for me.
That's amazing.
It was funny.
Hey, that's it. Hey,
people.
What they say, Gabe, in the casino, if you make $200 or $300 a day and just walk, that's a good day. You did 5 times better than that. So, you take the pluses. Right? That's a smart move. That was very, very smart. We got to do more things like that. See the future. It's like a big gamble. You're betting a future. Will my team be there?
Well, yeah.
That's basically what it is.
It's a future bet. That's what it is.
It's a future
bet. What it is.
Yeah. That's what it is.
They're all different, though. It's all different, like for every sport. The Rose Bowl kind of sells itself. Like the World Series tickets opened up at $1,200 and ended up closing at $1,300, right? Like, because there's like a peak to it. It's sort of like the 4 Nations here. There's a peak to what people are actually going to pay. No one's paying $3,000 and stuff. You'll see by game time, like already right now, look, this is where I would sit. What section are you in, McKinnis, actually? I'm looking here right now. Man, behind that's expensive, actually. You're in section 4. Oh, okay, that's in the corner. Yeah, you're right. I'm seeing right now $2,000 each for those tickets here.
Well played.
So that's the crazy thing, Gabe, is that when I was looking at these, the upper bowl, we're going for like $175 for upper bowl when I looked.
Now they're going for
I thought I was like, I'm splurging out. I'm going to splurge out here. I'm taking $375 a pop, and now I'm sitting here and like you said, what did you say you saw it right now?
2,000,
2,500 or
you guys are high rollers.
2,000.
I'm the cheapskate on the panel. I'm sitting in the nosebleeds. You guys are rolling 5-star. I'm with the idiots up top.
If I was buying tickets for myself right now, I would be in section 19, which is right in the corner, sort of like lower bowl in one of the corners, and it's $1,700 right now. I'd rather pay that 17 than pay 12 to be in the upper deck. I'll pay the extra 500 to be closer. These hockey arenas are big, but all right. So there was news this morning with Bill Guerin. Bill Guerin did an interview on Fox News, and it was kind of misrepresented. Like media, really ran with it. We saw like Bruce Arthur, he's a moron, and really calling him out, and he was kind of misquoted. All right, he said that they were motivated by the booing and stuff like that, but I think, like I said, I think they would be better off not booing the Team Canada national anthem on Thursday. I think it will just upset the Canadian players now. They'll get the same energy that the U.S. players got off of that. How do you feel about the game right now, McKinnis? And I will warn you, you're going into pretty hostile territory here. This isn't a normal game.
Yeah, definitely.
This is I put it this way. I wouldn't say I would wear my jersey and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But at the same point in time, I wouldn't run my mouth too much, even if Canada wins. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll have to be careful. That's the funny thing. I was saying to my old man, if they win, are we going to be able to celebrate at a bar? Or I have to go back to the hotel to have some drinks? Can I even celebrate? Take the jersey off?
No.
I would
go back to the hotel. I'd go back to the hotel bar.
Yeah, you're going to get glass. That's in Boston. No, it's the hotel. Come on, McKinnis. You don't be doing that. That's no. They're crazy.
It's going to be a great atmosphere, though.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like 50-50. Basically. I think the crowd's going to be 50-50. Canadians are hardcore. They bought the tickets already. McKinnis isn't alone in this. Cuthbert brought it up. All of you saw McKinnis. I included you in the tweet, actually. Cuthbert brought it up, in which he said the arena is all people from Nova Scotia here. In Boston on Monday against Finland, Canada, it was all Nova Scotians in the crowd, the Maritimes, etc. It's close to Boston. It's cheaper to fly. It's close. The tickets were cheaper before. McKinnis and others got a head start on it, so good for you. I guess you're betting on Canada, I'm assuming, right? Normally I wouldn't assume, but I would assume here you are.
I am, and to be honest with you, I'm more motivated to do so after what I saw from obviously them and the revenge factor. But the biggest factor for me is the lines. If they were rolling out the exact same lines here for this game, there wouldn't be a lot that I could really tell you based on, okay, great, they beat Finland. But John Cooper, I was waiting to see what type of movement we were going to see from his line pairings, and I think he hit it spot on. I mean, that top line, putting McDavid with Stone, putting Braden Point up there. I was listening to a podcast today, and a former player was talking about when they were game planning for Tampa Bay, they weren't game planning for Kucherov. They were game planning for Braden Point. And he's an absolute puck hound. He goes along the boards. He wins puck battles. He forechecks heavy. He's a good playmaker. Look, I make jokes about Maple Leaf players. I think Marner is an incredible talent, and he has that game winner against Sweden, but he is not the guy to go win the battle along the boards and then give the puck to McDavid. That's just not who he is. They need a guy like Stone, need a guy like Point to go in there and create space for McDavid. And to me, I really like that line. Then you put Bennett, Marchand, Konechny on the same line. That's kind of that roughhousing line, right? And then, of course, you keep the two Cole Harbor boys together with Crosby and McKinnon, and you got Reinhart, who's an absolute sniper on that line. I really like what I saw. I get it. It was against Finland. People, as far as the betting odds makers said, that would have been the easier game. But to your point, Gabe, credit to you. You did say Finland will be a pretty good fight for some teams. They were
We lost.
He was
we'll
on
get
fire.
we'll get McKinnis back. We're coming up against the break, but it was a very good point by McKinnis. Since we talked about the line change last night, putting Braden Point with McDavid really was with Stone too. I mean, such a powerful force. These guys just all attack the net. They attack the corners. It's up to McDavid to take it to the next level here, I think, on Thursday as well. Right? And he has. He's come out strong to start these games. He's skating a million miles an hour. The line change is great. But everything you said, I agree with, McKinnis. But that third line is somewhat of a problem here. Like you said, Marner's shot went in overtime. Okay, he got credit for this, but he's been a problem, right? And, that third line, let's be real. The Canada have kind of been a 3 out of 4 line team in this tournament, but it comes down to one game right now. The Tkachuk brothers are both sort of banged up. Austin Matthews isn't 100% here, but I don't think it has that much of an effect on.
And Cale Makar was not there Saturday night, right? Cale Makar won the Conn Smythe Trophy when the Avalanche.
Yeah, he's the massive difference.
It wasn't McKinnon, right? He was the Conn Smythe. He might be the best player in the NHL right now, honestly, overall. That sounds crazy to say, but what he brings individually it's not talked about enough, I don't think, really, for what he does.
He was on the ice, too, for basically half of each period, right? So it was a very calming influence. He was on the ice for 8.5 minutes a period.
Slow play, drum beat grows louder and louder every week, to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Skovron, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Let's roll this. It's SportsRage. I am Morency. Wisconsin are now really pulling away here. And in fact, the game's coming to an end. 95-74. Game goes over. We were on the Badgers minus the 4, and we're on the over 161.5. So that cashes. And in fact, we're on BYU right now. They're up 76-41. Wow. 76-41 on Kansas. We talked. Remember I said last night, I said, and I love Bill Self, but I've had Bill Self on a couple of times over the years, and so I kind of, I don't know him personally, but I kind of know him and how he rolls. And I could tell the other day that he's given up on this team. Like Like, the passion wasn't there. Like, he sort of, in between timeouts, he'd get up and sort of look at the clock. Like, not how much time is left in the game. Like, so we can come back. More so, like, how much time is left in this game? So, like, is this over yet? Like, he's just sort of sitting there with his hands on his temples. And he's just watching them, like, get murdered. And what can he do? Right? And now tonight, it got even worse. Like, at least the other night, it was kind of a close game. Like, tonight, they were trying to come back. Tonight, they just got murdered by BYU. All right, so I found it interesting, the line moves of this Four Nations stuff. It opened up, like, immediately yesterday, USA minus 115. And then it went to, like, USA minus 125 last night. Now it's flipped. It's just a stone-cold pick of minus 110 on both sides. The total is 5.5. It went under the first time they played McInnes. There's only been 2 games that have gone under in this tournament. That was one of them, and the other one was last night with Sweden and the USA in the meaningless game. What do you think of the total 5.5 in this one?
I always say in the NHL, if 2 teams are playing each other in a short period of time, typically you go the opposite that happened in the first meeting. But I think this one goes over. I really do. But I think especially the first period, 1.5 goes over. 6 straight games in the Four Nations tournament, the over 1.5 has hit. Gabe, I locked in today minus 105. I mean, I saw minus 115. Money came in more and more on the under. I said, okay, I'll take this right now. Minus 105, first period over. I think there's that excitement, the adrenaline factor, the emotion. One team scores, the other team responds. If you guys notice, a lot of times these first period overs have been hitting. It's 1-1. Like, both teams are getting on the board. McDavid scores that great goal. Gensel responds. You go to the room, it's 1-1. And all of a sudden, it's like, all right, let's play some defense. Because typically we know the team that scores the next goal has a really good chance of winning this game. First period is a lot more free-flowing. And then you really kind of address things at the intermission. And that's when you slow things down. So I do like that over 1.5. But I will say, John Cooper in the NHL is known for pulling the goalie early. Right? You look over at Sullivan on the other side as well. He'll do the same thing. So, I mean, you got to think that no matter what happens, unless we see overtime, if I could bet right now, if a book would offer this to me, will we see an empty net goal? I would bet the yes at a pretty good price. So I think that's a free goal for you right now at a 5.5 total.
Are you worried about Jordan Binnington in this game?
Look, Jordan Binnington reminds me of J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith got a hand in his face. He'll make the shot. He got a wide open 3. He's going to miss it. Jordan Binnington, he makes the hardest saves. He makes the most complicated saves. And then if it's an easy save, he'll let it in through the 5 holes. So if he can prevent that little squeaker from going in tense moments, I like it. And, I don't usually write into this stuff too much, but Game 7 in Boston, he lifted the Stanley Cup over his head. That's kind of a nice factor. So, and the fact of the matter is, let's think about this here. No matter what, if you let a squeaker in during USA's game on Saturday against them, they scored 1 goal. I mean, I don't care if anyone said, look, it should have been Hill, should have been this, should have been Logan Thompson. Canada scored 1 goal. If Canada scores 3 goals tomorrow or Thursday, they got a real good chance, guys. If they score 2 goals and Binnington lets in a bad goal, how can we blame him when they score just 2 goals? So to me, Binnington will be just fine.
I said the same thing. I said the same thing Saturday night. Like, they weren't getting any pressure as the game went on. And you're bang on. Binnington, J.R. Smith was a funny analogy, but from a goaltending perspective, it's more Jose Theodore-like. Jose Theodore was the same way with the Montreal Canadiens. Like, dude would make like some sort of like incredible behind the back, like with his hand and stick his stick up. And it was like, oh my God, I don't know how we stopped that. And then every game, man, they'd just be like, yeah, there's that 20-foot floater wrist shot that he just got beat on. Right? Like, and
kind of like Marc-Andre Fleury too, honestly.
Yes, good call. It's almost like a Quebec thing. But Binnington, he's given up a bad goal in every game, but he's also made a lot of big saves. Like you said, like, I didn't like either goal that he gave up, but there were also times when they were losing 2-1 when he made one crazy pad save, man, in the slot once, where it's like, whoa, like, that was no one, you know what I mean? Like, that was a big time save. As you stated, they do believe in that stuff, McInnes, that you talked about him winning a Stanley Cup, about him winning a Stanley Cup in Boston, in that building. Right, they're buying into that, and Cooper trusts them. Like, it's not like the team doesn't trust them. I think they know they just need to play well in front of him. He'll make saves. And let's see what Hellebuck does. They got to test Hellebuck more. That was one thing in the game against the U.S. that Canada didn't do well. And the U.S. do it well. If you'll notice, guys, the U.S. never really have sustained pressure on teams, right? It's not like, when they're on the power play, fine, but it's not like they're dominating 5-on-5 and they're like, oh, my God, they're impossible to stop. But what they do is they bury their chances, right? They get like 20 shots on goal. You know what I mean? They bury their shots when they get them. And also, they're good at just sort of the quick flick at the net type stuff, right? They got a deflection earlier. They're good at it. Like, they're getting the puck on the net and stuff. They played pretty smart hockey. Canada's talked about that, they got a little bit too individual, they thought, on Saturday in the first game. I'm looking forward to see how it plays out. But you're saying over 5.5. What do you say, Cam? Over or under 5.5?
I'm going to have to go over, too. And I went under in the last game. It was kind of contrarian, and I'm glad I did. It started off the first period over, and then to McInnes's point, they played a lot more defense. I think Canada has to take a page out of the Americans' book. Good point by both of you guys. USA shoots the puck from anywhere, look with deflections. I think Canada wins this hockey game 4-2. Just goes over the number.
I'm not
I like that.
I'm not so sure there's going to be as many goals. There could be. I mean, like I said, there could be, but this is his championship game gets. All right, we'll wrap up with McInnes on the other side.
Slow play, drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scavern, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency, so there's a bunch of routes going on in college basketball right now. We got a bunch of football talk coming up in a couple of minutes. Our boy Rick Saratella will step up, and then we're jam-packed at the back end. More college basketball talk with Kiev O'Neill, and our boy Mo Khan will join us tonight. Like I said, we're jam-packed this evening. So one good thing, McInnes said it, the over 1.5s have gone over in every game in this tournament. These two like the over in the game. I'm not so sure. It could get there. Maybe, like you guys said, it could be some empty netters or something like that late. I think goal's going to be tough to come by in this game. Like, I'd be surprised if it turned into a track meet. No, especially no one's going to want to make an early mistake here. I know there's been a lot of early goals in this tournament, but there's been great value. Like I was talking about the other day, how often are you going to get Connor McDavid at plus 180? Or now, dude, you're getting Connor McDavid to score a goal, guys, at plus 220. Nate McKinnon is plus 220. Connor McDavid is plus 220. Austin Matthews is plus 210. Jack Hughes is plus 260. Braden Point is plus 275. Jake Gensel is plus 300. So the one thing, McKinnon, is the goal scoring numbers in this tournament have been very, very gratuitous and favorable. Big numbers.
Is he gone? Yep. He gone. I'm with you, Gabe. I got Connor McDavid.
Oh, we got McKinnis.
Yeah, plus 850 for like a first goal. Regular, like when are you going to get these numbers? You said it too, like over 2-1 for a goal. I remember they had a boost, Gabe, for a point. He was plus 110. Like that's for a point. Like max. It's amazing. Yeah, I agree with you.
They've had some nice boosts during this tournament. Hopefully they have a freebie tomorrow for us.
Yeah.
Hopefully. All right, we got so we're saying, because we got a couple of minutes with you before we get you out of here, I was saying goal scoring props, they're paying a lot. Like, you know what I mean? Normally, you know, Connor McDavid and with the Oilers is like minus 150 to score a goal. Austin Matthews, etc. I've been cashing tickets with Connor McDavid to score goals at plus 180 in this tournament. Braden Point's a nice price. You know, one of them are going to score. It's the one thing, though. Canada's got to get a goal from not just like the two lines there. Like, they need some production from the other two lines. But who do you like in a goal scoring prop? What kind of props you like on Thursday?
Well, I'll start with this prop, Jake Gensel to get a point. It absolutely hurts me to say it. I don't want to give any props or bet any props on Team USA, but Jake Gensel continues to be underrated. I've talked
bad bet. They're getting shut out.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope I lose. I hope
3-0 final score.
5-0. 5-0. But, you know, Jake Gensel, you're getting plus money on the point, guys. You know, he scored a goal that kind of week one against Bennington the last time out. He scored a goal in the previous game. I think he has 3 points total on the tournament. So I do like Gensel to get the job done. Here's a nice plus one, Gabe. I don't have it in front of me, but if you could find Sam Reinhart to score a goal. He hasn't done much the whole tournament so far. He's found some chemistry with McKinnon and Crosby, and you mentioned somebody else has to step up. Well, he still is in the top.
He was your
6,
guy at the start, McKinnon, right? 10-1, but he's been getting assists, not the goals, right?
Yes, he hasn't been that good, and I do think that Sam Reinhart could be a sleeper. And as far as a point is concerned, I think you're right. I think that one team has to get something from their bottom 6. Something has to be done there with the bottom 6. How about the guy that decided to drop the mitts with Matthew Tkachuk to start things off on Saturday night? Brandon Hagel to get the job done here. Whether it's a point, whether it's a goal, I think that there's going to be one of these teams going to get a goal from the bottom 6. I think Canada's the team to do it. But I'll tell you what, guys, if you can bet at plus 120, Cale Makar over 2.5 shots on goal. Gabe was talking about the Super Boost being free money. I think that's free money right there. Cale Makar. I mean, you talk about McDavid having the free reins to do what he wants to do. Makar is going to have the green light to do what he wants to do as well offensively.
And you're right. They're going to tell him to tee it up as well. They're going to want the chaos that ensues. You're getting big numbers. Sam Reinhart is 16-1 to score the first goal of the game, plus 375 anytime score. Jack Eichel is plus 350 anytime score. Matt Boldy is plus 450. Marner plus 425. Dylan Larkin 5-1. Like I said, the goal market's profitable if you're on the right. You could find the right player. Andrew McInnes. All right, McInnes, enjoy your trip. Stay safe.
Thanks so much, guys.
Enjoy the game of the century, man. I'm jealous. Great. I wish I was there on Saturday in Montreal, actually. Like, although it's one of those deals, I'm glad I'm not, because I would have been very depressed walking out of that building.
Me too.
So I'm glad I wasn't there.
I'm hoping I picked the right game. Guys.
Hey, whatever happens, you're seeing history. Like I said, this is the biggest hockey game, literally. I think it's the biggest hockey game since the gold medal game in the Olympics with USA and Canada.
slow play drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Skovron, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency, SportsGrid Radio and Television Network, Sirius XM Channel 159. Let's do this thing. We're now just 65 days away from the National Football League draft. It's the calm before the storm, and there's a lot of smoke in the air. It's like the back of Snoop Dogg's tour bus right now, trying to figure out what teams are going to do, and the sports books are having every bit as much of an issue, trying to figure it out as well. There's been some wild movement with the odds with the NFL draft, and there's some pretty crazy numbers up on the board right now. Let's bring in the founder of the NFL Draft Bible, allaccessfootball.com, Rick Saratella, in the house. What's going on, Rick?
Oh, baby. Gabriel Morency, great to see you. It's smokescreen season, which means it's QB carousel season. Who's in, who's out. Reports coming and going, and it's a great time of year, man. How you doing?
I tell you what, I've come across an interesting prop that's up for the NFL draft, and they don't have the positional props up yet. You know what I mean? Yeah. When they really start getting after running backs, wide receivers, over under, first round. So they're sort of easing their way into this right now. But this I found to be interesting. So you have the number 1 overall pick odds. There's odds popping up right now for the first quarterback to be taken. So head-to-head quarterback odds. But this one's interesting. Team to make the first overall pick odds. And obviously the Tennessee Titans have the first pick of the draft, and they're minus 300 right now. But as we just talked about this being smokescreen season, Rick, are you convinced that the Tennessee Titans are going to use the first overall pick? I think they're open to business if you offer them a good enough deal and they don't fall too far in the draft.
I do believe the Tennessee Titans are entertaining offers. If it was me personally, you don't get a chance to have the number 1 overall pick, especially when you need a franchise quarterback. These opportunities don't come around too often, unless maybe you're the Tennessee Titans and you're back picking number 1 again next year. But to me, I would pull the trigger and get my guy. Although, if they go free agent route a la Aaron Rodgers per se, then it makes sense to trade back, accumulate draft equity, pick up additional picks for next year, stay within that top, 6 or 7 picks, and, take a blue chip type of talent.
You look at the Cleveland Browns. They have the 2nd pick, so I don't think they really need to trade. There's a couple of quarterbacks out there. They might like one more than the other. But the Tennessee Titans guys are the favorites to hang on to the pick at minus 300. Yet I think, all right, who is a team that would make sense if they would trade up? And I'm thinking the New York Football Giants. If they're sitting at 3, hypothetically, if 2 quarterbacks are taken before them, Brian Dable and Joe Shane are in the exact same damn spot that they've been in every year right now. They need to get a franchise quarterback out of this draft. They're so close, but they're kind of so far away, aren't they, with the 3rd pick still? They don't control their own destiny here.
Well, they could get leapfrogged by a team in their own building. The Jets are looking for a quarterback. They could move up. The Raiders are at number 6 right behind them. They could move up. I wouldn't rule out the Cleveland Browns if they got to ensure themselves to get their guy, that they would also entertain the idea of moving up. So I do think there's going to be a market. Whether or not Tennessee determines they want to build through the draft or piece it together, whether they sign Aaron Rodgers or Sam Darnold, that's patchwork. That's a stopgap. That's not a long-term solution. So it's up to Tennessee what their philosophy is going to be.
And Tennessee have a new stadium coming too. They do want to be good. They're going to have to figure out how to get there. The Giants guys are the first choice on the board to get the number 1 pick as far as odds are concerned. So if you're out there tuning in right now and you're thinking, you know what? What Rick just said, will the Giants say, you know what, we're not going to be patient here. We're at the 3rd pick. Let's just swap picks with Tennessee, throw in a deal next year. And if you're Tennessee, that's not crazy, depending on who you like in the draft. The Giants are plus 450 right now to have the 1st pick in the draft. And you mentioned the Raiders. The Raiders are 10-1, Rick. I'm seeing some mock drafts that have Shedeur Sanders falling to the Raiders, but I just don't buy that, Rick. There's no way in hell he falls to 6, in my opinion.
I hear Tom Brady is a fan. I just don't see, with so many teams needing a quarterback, how Shedeur could fall that far. In fact, I'd go the other way and say you might see a 3rd quarterback inside the top 10, whether that's Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. I think that's more of a likely scenario.
So looking at the updated odds, and guys, this is an instance right now. This isn't like the Super Bowl where the numbers are basically going to be the same. Point spreads are point spreads for the most part, guys, right? Totals, there might be a difference of a half point here or there for a couple of hours. But when it comes to the draft, especially now, we're still 65 days away from the draft. You will get like some different numbers at different books, just slightly different numbers. But Cam Ward is the favorite to be the top pick still right now. At minus 140. Abdul Carter out of Penn State is the 2nd choice at plus 175. Travis Hunter is plus 550 to be the top pick of the draft. Shedeur Sanders, plus 750 right now at FanDuel. That's one of the better numbers for Shedeur. I've seen him mostly in like the plus 500, plus 600 range to be the top pick. So, like I said, you shop around depending on the player that you like, and you find a number that you like for the player. But Shedeur Sanders right now, plus 750 to be the top pick in the draft. I don't think it's a crazy bet, Rick.
I don't think it's crazy at all, especially, if you compare the tape. Shedeur Sanders, in my book, is the better quarterback prospect. I think he's actually the more mature quarterback. If you listen to him talk, he's not out there beating his chest and being all braggadocious like Cam Ward out there. Oh, you better draft me or you're going to pay for it. No, if you listen to Shedeur Sanders talk, all he does is deflect attention, compliment others. This guy's mature beyond his years. I know he gets knocked for the arm strength. He can make all the throws. He's a smart decision maker. Yes, I know he's taken way too many sacks than he should have, but he really hasn't had much protection. He really hasn't had a running game. And that's why, if you do the arithmetic and you look at what he projects to be, we're all projecting talents to the next level. He projects to be a better pro player than he will be a collegiate player. And I think we've talked about it. Like Jackson State and Colorado weren't world beaters before Shedeur Sanders showed up. It wasn't Deion Sanders coaching that turned around those programs, okay? Shedeur Sanders is a franchise quarterback, and he deserves to be the first quarterback off the board.
And not to take anything away from Cam Ward, but the Miami Hurricanes had one of the best offensive lines in the country, right? They had a great running game as well. The Rodriguez kid that came over from Oregon State. And like I said, Martinez, excuse me. And I like Cam Ward, but dude, Washington State won like 10, 11 games this year, Rick. You know what I mean? They kept on putting points up on the board, replaced them. All right, we don't have Cam Ward anymore. They just kept winning football games. right? They just kept winning football games. As you stated, I like the fact that Shedeur wasn't surrounded by great talent, right? He really, he never had a real offense. I mean, Colorado's offensive line was one of the worst offensive lines in the country, like just point blank. Like I buy into the leadership stuff that you talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Bet365, so FanDuel has these odds, but Bet365 has a prop up, just head-to-head quarterbacks. Who's going to be the first quarterback taken? First quarterback taken in the NFL draft, and Cam Ward's minus 275, Rick. We're getting plus 200 for Shedeur Sanders. Doesn't have to be the top pick, just has to be the first quarterback taken. I like this bet as well. I'm going to jump in on the Shedeur plus money bets.
Yeah, I'm all about Shedeur Sanders, and we'll find out come draft day. But I do think it's going to be a quarterback, because if it's not the Titans that pull the trigger, then they will trade back, and there will be a QB-needy team willing to trade up and get either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. I believe it'll be Shedeur Sanders.
Speaking of quarterbacks, and Rick said, you wouldn't be surprised there's going to be another quarterback that, works his way up into the top 10 range. Jackson Dart was that guy. Jackson Dart was that guy.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out.
He's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scavern, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience, who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. We're breaking it down with the great Rick Saratella. We'll get back to the draft, and there's some players I want to talk about. We'll get to some other current NFL team news as well. But Rick Saratella was at the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl parade on Valentine's Day, and when I saw a couple of people got shot, I thought about you, Rick, because I saw your videos, and I was like, all right, I hope our boy Rick Saratella was all right. It turned out it was an argument over a porta potty, literally and figuratively. People wondering, Philadelphia's crazy and stuff. And listen, right, the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship. Like 7 people got shot, all right? And I said, well, 7 people get shot daily in Toronto to begin with. People are going to get shot in cities. It happens. But it was all an argument over a porta potty. And you told me, Rick, you don't understand that because there were porta potties everywhere.
I never seen so many porta potties in my life, Gabe Morency. And I'll tell you, outside of that one incident, it was really a day for the city of brotherly love to shine, And, listen, my girlfriend lives outside of Philadelphia, so I joked, it's Valentine's Day. She doesn't even know what American football is, but I said, let me kill 2 birds with 1 stone, literally.
Rick Saratella in the house with us. She wasn't the one with the ankle monitor, right? That was another great piece of that was a great one too. A couple got married at the parade, and somebody caught the video of the bride like she was fixing her dress, and they're like, she's wearing an ankle monitor. Like she's under arrest.
Well, listen.
She's wearing high heels and an ankle. She had like an eagle tattoo on her calf and stuff. And people are like, oh my God, my dream girl.
Well, Philly fans are, they got priorities now. Sundays are for the birds. And, listen, that's why I wanted to be a part of this. No, seriously, like you hope that some of this kind of greatness rubs off on you. You only get to experience these things maybe once a lifetime if you're lucky. But you started the party out in down in New Orleans, and then
you finish it off. I will say one thing. I think to a certain extent, Philly fan gets a bad rap. I mean, every fan base can have jerks, but I think for the most part, they get a bad rap. But for the love of God, I don't understand the fascination with climbing poles like people do in Philadelphia. Light poles.
Yeah,
they got to grease the poles.
They grease them in preparation for it, but they're just
doesn't seem to help.
No, they're already lubricated. They're so tuned up, these people. It's unbelievable. I mean, you can't stop it. You can only hope to contain it. And I didn't see too many cars on fire. I thought, for the most part, it was pretty unscathed and a little bit more calmer, I thought, this parade than the one 7 years ago. So,
yeah, you know what? To be honest, that's what I took away from this. Number one, I was like, you know what? Everybody always picks on and hates the Eagle fans and this and that in Philadelphia. They were pretty humble about it. There wasn't a ton of smack talk from Eagle fans, really. You know what I mean? I noticed that, I was, at the airport and seeing Eagle fans and, you know what I mean? There wasn't this over-the-top jerkdom that people make it out to be. Even when they won, they were pretty, like you said, the parade was like any other city. Hell, Kansas City was worse last year. They had multiple shootings.
No, right. I think what it was, Gabe, is a lot of those fans were around 7 years ago. The first one, people were waiting 59 years. People were waiting a lifetime.
Yeah. You're right. That was,
there was a lot.
That was a more go F yourself, everybody. Yeah. We're the best. We're finally the best. You're right. It was a little bit of a different scenario. So looking at the odds, we were talking about the players at the top of the board here. Listen, I don't think he's not going to be the top pick of the draft, but Tatoria McMillan out of Arizona, T-Mac, as people will just simply call him to make it easier for everybody. But this kid's a monster, man. I bet on his props pretty much every week this year, and it was very Ashton Genty-like. It was like his receiving yard prop would be 128.5 yards for the game, and these crazy high numbers, and it was almost still free money. And it was all right, will he score 2 or more touchdowns? Yes, he will. And the other team still knew they were trying to get him the ball, and he would still catch it. Yet, let me ask you, Rick, you're the draft guru. How difficult is it for wide receivers to transition? Because I can think of a lot of really sort of star-type wide receivers in college that didn't translate into the NFL. What about McMillan?
Well, yeah, first of all, to that point, Laquan Treadwell, remember him? That was a guy
out of Mississippi, a classic example. I thought he was going to be a stud with the Vikings.
I'll be the first to admit I was wrong with that one. Big, fast, lean. I'll tell you what, though, this Teatra McMillan is the real deal. And I'm going to tell you something that you might not know. When we depart Indianapolis after the NFL scouting combine next week, we will probably be saying that we have never witnessed an NFL scouting combine at the wide receiver position like McMillan is about to put on. And I hope he participates in all the testing and timing and drills. And in terms of a skill position, I would compare it to what Christian McCaffrey did when he came to Indy, and he just blew everybody away from the speed to the 40 to the wide receiver routes. What McMillan is about to do for his size and his speed and his dimensions and his change of direction and his route running, this guy is as big and fast as any wide receiver we've seen in NFL history. And I would
his
say,
hands. It's like he's got stickum on his hands as well. Like everything just sticks to him. One hand, two hands, wherever the ball, high, low. He just catches everything.
He is a magnet, and I will say he is a modern day Michael Evans. Okay, so if I am the New England Patriots at number 4, and I have this franchise quarterback who needs new toys, there's no weapons up there in New England. I'm trading Cooper Kupp, and I'm drafting Tetra McMillan, and I'm saying, buckle up, boys. Let's go on a ride.
Yeah, as a Buffalo Bill fan, this is the thing. Our window's not going to be open forever here because eventually other teams are going to get good and new star players will come along. And Drake May looks like, listen, we still have to see it, but he definitely has it, right? He's got the athletic ability. He's got the mental temperament. The kid seems like a winner. You get him, a player like McMillan, and then you throw in a vet like Cooper Kupp, and that would be pretty scary. More with Rick Saratella on the other side. This is SportsRage.
Slow play, drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scoverin, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night, but it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We got a couple more minutes with our main man, Rick Saratella, talking football. 65 days away from the draft. Can't wait to see the full slate of draft props to start to get dropped. But you got to get ahead of it. When you see these plus money numbers, Shedeur Sanders, plus 750, plus 650, etc. All it takes is one rumor. Suddenly the numbers change, and you get somebody else at plus 750. We're just trying to stockpile plus money plays as much as we can going in to the draft. So we got a couple of more minutes left. Let's talk about what's going on right now with the non-draft quarterbacks. And there's a little bit of a buzz right now post Aaron Rodgers at MetLife Stadium at the Meadowlands about what the Jets are going to do at the quarterback position. And you and I discussed this last week, and we both agreed in believing that, you know what, Justin Fields isn't getting a chance anywhere for whatever reason. And if I'm the New York Jets, I need a quarterback. I've got a ton of talent there already. Fields is a team guy. You know, with Aaron Glenn there, you know, they're going to retool the offense a little bit. You know, they're going to be a little bit more smash mouth here. You and I didn't have a problem with it. Like, I thought, you know what? If I was the Jets, it's a better option than the Kirk Cousins and the Derek Carrs of the world that you hear about the Jets being connected to. And now, supposedly, there could be some mutual interest between Justin Fields. Well, hell, Justin Fields going to go anywhere right now because, you know, and they're all saying, oh, he could go back to Pittsburgh. But if I was Fields, I'd want out of Pittsburgh after what just happened there. I'd go to the Jets if I was him.
Yeah, you know, you got to make a business decision. In terms of Justin Fields, I thought Pittsburgh made the wrong decision when they benched Justin Fields. He had only lost one game as a starter at the time, and I don't think he's really gotten a true window to succeed. And I say that because I don't know how many games the Chicago Bears won off the top of my head, but I can tell you that 2 years ago, Justin Fields won 7 games with the Chicago Bears team that was inferior to the roster that they had this past season. So that tells me that there's some talent there. I look at what Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen were when they entered the NFL. They were not accurate passers. They weren't able to throw the ball downfield. In fact, you'd have to hold your breath when they threw the ball deep. But Justin Fields has evolved, and I thought you started to see those signs of development until Mike Tomlin pulled the plug. And Tomlin was really quick to kind of pat himself on the back and take props and kudos for that move. It was the wrong move. It was the wrong decision for the long term. And now Pittsburgh has a disgruntled quarterback who's going to go elsewhere. And I love the fit with the New York Jets, especially because they have a strong ground game there. They don't have to lean on Justin Fields for everything. And I do think that Justin Fields' best football is still ahead of him. And I will say this, in terms of all the available free agent quarterbacks, including Sam Darnold and Aaron Rodgers, I'd rather have Justin Fields than any of them.
And a lot of the quarterbacks that are available are kind of similar style quarterbacks too. You know, the Sam Darnolds. So what are you buying about Matt Stafford and the LA Rams? What are you hearing about that?
Well, you know, I think there's a lot of smoke with the Giants rumored to be in the mix. I think it makes a lot of sense if the Giants can pull it off. But what are you giving up for a Matthew Stafford? What are you giving up to move up to the number 1 pick? I think you got to weigh the risk and reward and supply and demand, what it's going to cost and what you're getting in return and what you prefer. Matthew Stafford has a very small window. You might get 2 more years out of Matthew Stafford. If you move up for the number 1 pick, you probably got to give up more. But if you nail it, then look at Washington. They're set for the next decade plus. That's the kind of home run you kind of want to hit. That's the kind of discussions that are being had in war rooms right now.
All you need to know, everybody, about the NFL quarterback position right now, Andy Dalton just signed a 2-year contract extension. Andy Dalton, 2 years. Now, he didn't break the bank. 2-year, $8 million deal that includes $6 million guaranteed and has a max value of $10 million. But here's Andy Dalton buying another 2 years of NFL play. And all the talk about Bryce Young as well, speaking of quarterbacks. He looked good down the stretch. That's been silenced. We'll see what Carolina can do. And try to put some talent around him. Rick, we're up against it right now. Countdown to the draft is on. What do you got coming up?
Wednesday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Brian Baldinger and myself do the NFL Draftcast show, counting you down to the NFL Draft every Wednesday. We'll be out in Indianapolis for the Scouting Combine. Buckle up, and appreciate the time, my man.
Yeah, the Combine's right around the corner right now. Huh? It really is the calm before the storm, and then we got the UFL season ready to begin because can't live without football on the weekends. Got to be some football. AllAccessFootball.com. Check it out. You'll get all the football you want. Bring it.
slow play drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Skovron, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, thanks to Rick Saratella for joining us, talking NFL draft props that are available. We got our boy Mo Khan stepping up in the next segment. So we got Kiev O'Neill just for a segment here. And we always talk about how he's a Badger, baby. And a big win for the Badgers tonight against the visiting alumni. They were laying 4 points. The total was like 161.5, but it still went over the number. And Wisconsin gets it done. And this ain't Bo Ryan's Wisconsin Badgers, is it, man? We talked about it earlier in the year. This team puts points up on the board.
They sure did, man. I haven't seen an offense like this since 2015, really, with Frank the Tank and Decker and, a couple other guys that were just amazing players back then, and it's fun to watch. They're fun to watch, and they're hot right now. But then I always, as the pessimist in me is asking, is it too early for them to be hot? Are they going to cool off at the wrong time? I sure hope not, guys.
Well, the season's coming to an end, right? There's not too much basketball left in the regular season. And Michigan State gets it done tonight. And there's a massive showdown on Friday night right now in Ann Arbor. And Michigan State and Michigan play twice still. They play on Friday night, and then they play the last game of the season on March 9th. And then, of course, the Big Ten tournament after that. They're going to be playing for first place on Friday night. What's your advanced thoughts on Sparty and the Wolverines at Ann Arbor?
I think that Sparty and the Wolverines are probably going to drop one soon here at Ann Arbor. The problem with Ann Arbor's got the 2 tall guys down low, and that's really what can stop Michigan State. I think Michigan State has a good perimeter defense. I think down low is where they struggle. And, you see that for a few Big Ten teams. Wisconsin's weakness is a little bit down low too. But, Sparty has still a very good chance here to win the Big Ten regular season, because that's what you're thinking about right now as a bettor, is that future here. I got one on Michigan at 9-1. I got one on Wisconsin at 20-1, and things are getting nicer now because Purdue's kind of pushed out of the mix. Illinois is out of the mix. It's really between Michigan, Michigan State, and Wisconsin. Michigan definitely has that lead right there, but Michigan being at home, I think they take care of business against Michigan State. Michigan State, down low is where it's really going to hurt them against guys like Wolf, right? Against those big guys like Golden. Golden's was a fantastic pickup for them. Obviously, if they get in foul trouble, though, is where it gets a little bit dicey because Michigan just doesn't have that elite guard play that I think you need for a tournament team.
Yeah, they get shaky late. They have problems closing out basketball games, as we've seen. Like things get a lot closer than they should be. I sort of get the feeling that Michigan and Michigan State will split, right? They'll both. I think they'll both win on their home courts. So I would lean Michigan as well on Friday, and then they play, like I said, they play in East Lansing to wrap up the regular season. We were talking about the Four Nations Cup, and the finals on Thursday. They played yesterday, so there's a couple of days off. But because the ESPN has college basketball, and looking at Wednesday night's slate, nothing massive, but some interesting games on tap. The SEC takes center stage tomorrow night once again. Auburn coming off their big win against Alabama or hosting Arkansas tomorrow. They're laying a ton of points, 16.5 points, total 152.5. Vandy are at Kentucky. They actually have identical 17-8 records on the season. Kentucky are 5.5-point favorites in the game. St. John's lays 12.5 on the road at DePaul tomorrow night. Alabama and Missouri are on the board. Have you taken a look at Wednesday night's college basketball card at all?
Yes, I have. Couple things to key in on. Kentucky is a fade team until Butler comes back. This team is a completely different team without Lamont Butler playing. It's like they look lost. I was on Texas big last weekend, and Texas played a terrible game and still covered that spread last weekend. And I thought that was one of the worst games that Texas has played. Texas is not that good of a team. But when I just got confirmation from Rothstein's tweet today that Butler's going to be out, as well as that shooting guard on Kentucky, his name kind of escapes me right now. That is their two best players, in my opinion. Jackson Robinson, that's what I'm thinking about. He won't be back for a while. And it just shows that Vanderbilt has a good opportunity to come here and pull the upset. I quickly grabbed the 6.5. It's at 5.5. I still like it at 5.5 here. Vanderbilt, after those two tough losses against Auburn and Tennessee, they're beating Tennessee for a lot of that game, and then they dropped it. Vanderbilt needs another good win. They've been bleeding losses, lost 4 of the last 5. The Oklahoma one really hurt. I think they're going to come in and D up a little bit against Kentucky, and Kentucky is once again going to look lost without their best players.
UCLA right now, we're up 34-23 on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. They're laying 14.5 in-game, totals 127.5. We're at the half of that game, so 34-23 at the half. And SDSU, San Diego State are actually pummeling Fresno early. It's 28-14. They're laying 24.5 in-game right now, total 138.5. I was going to ask you about the UFC Fight Night this week. I know it's early in the week still, but anything else on college basketball before we wrap up with the UFC Fight Night?
I got to look at the card a little bit more. I got a few thoughts on it. I knew I was coming on. Wanted to talk a little bit about Vanderbilt-Kentucky matchup. I'm not going to mess with Auburn again. I think that they just can cover at home against Arkansas. I'm worried about them. Alabama should get a win at Missouri, though, and they're only laying a point or so. Missouri has been a very feisty team, I will say that, but Alabama shot really poorly against Auburn. I think Auburn's getting too much credit for the defense. Alabama's missing some open shots, going 5 for 26 last weekend in 3-point range. So I think Alabama might get the win. But UFC this weekend, decent card here. The card was supposed to be better. There's some people dropping out. Looks like this one's in Seattle. I like Fluffy Hernandez a lot. I mean, he's a massive favorite here at -290. Maybe he's -270 in a couple books. He's going to be a parlay piece for sure. I think maybe Fluffy does get Allen inside the distance. I don't know if it's going to be by a sub. I don't know if it's going to be by a KO. But I think he's good enough to get Allen. I think the hype is kind of run dry on Brandon Allen. So I'm going to be looking for Fluffy Hernandez as a key for this weekend.
Down to -275 right now. What does Cejudo have left in the tank, in your opinion, right now?
None. I don't think he's going to have any chance against Song Yadong. I liked Cejudo before he retired. I was on him when he won that belt, and then he retired that very match. Was it 3 years ago, 4 years ago? And then he comes back. He's not the same person. He's old. He's 38 years old. He's fighting a guy that is 27, entering his prime. And Song Yadong's got 4 inches on this guy, man. I mean, he's got a 3-inch reach advantage. This should be a pretty easy pickings for Song Yadong. I don't know if he finishes him or not. But this is another good parlay piece for me. I think Song Yadong gets it. I would even lay the minus 280 on Song Yadong. I just think that Cejudo's at the end of his journey here, and if he was going to do anything, he would have done something in his last fight that he lost. In my opinion, this is also going to be probably a very chalky type card.
Yeah, you know what? That parlay, just for the record, Hernandez and Song is minus 118. So if you're looking for the Captain Chalk parlay on this card, he'll be no doubt be breaking it down more. Like I said, it's still early in the week for this fight night card to fully attack it. But I'm interested in this parlay right now. I'll tell you that. I'm interested in the parlay. Where can people find you online? Where can people find your videos and your picks, my man, and your shows?
Yeah, absolutely. At the Odds Breakers, at OB Kiev for my personal X. At the Odds Breakers, we have all kinds of betting information as well as plays. We mix it up a little bit, try to educate as well as try to pick some of our best plays without messing up too many of our premiums. So make sure you check us out at the Odds Breakers.
Hey, thanks, Kiev. Always a pleasure, my man.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Slow play, drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scoverin, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. Thanks to Kiev O'Neill for joining us on the show. We've had a full house on the program tonight, and now we've got our boy Mo Khan stepping up and in. Mo, a lot of stuff to get to, so we'll go right down to business.
Yeah.
We were talking about the 4 nations before it started, and there was a concern, the tickets aren't being sold quick enough, and there's fan apathy about the tournament. Yet there was one thing that was consistent, that the players were into it, right? Like, I don't think there was any question the players, when they put their jerseys on, how seriously they do take it. But obviously this tournament has exceeded expectations greatly. And, it was sort of a reminder, if Montreal does one thing well, man, it's like the player introductions and ceremonies and events, they just do it far better. Like we talked about, Montreal was a strange choice out of all the cities that they could have chosen for this, but in hindsight, evidently it wasn't. It was a success. Hell, they even sold tickets for the Finland-Sweden game in Montreal, so it turned out to be a massive success. And now we have the biggest game in international hockey since, with Canada and the U.S. in the 2010 Olympics, right? That was for the gold medal. That was pretty massive, obviously. So, big-time event. Now it comes down to Thursday night. What do you think about the championship game?
Boy, were we wrong last week, huh, boys? This is going to be massive because it's the prelude to 26, right, guys, for Italy Olympics, and who could be on this roster for both teams. The recent dominance of the Americans against the Canadians at the junior level has left a bad taste in Canadian hockey minds' mouths right now, guys. And they want to get revenge on them, including the women's, right? The women's right now, the Americans have been playing much better than the Canadians have of late. So in this context, my key in the game will be the goaltending. Everyone's talking about Binnington, right? But Gabe, I think you might have mentioned this a while ago, but Connor Hellebuck, where was his biggest game ever as a goalie, right? He needs to get those big games under his belt because we talk about him being a top 5, top 3 NHL goaltender, but this is his moment now to shine and say, look, you know what? I'm going to build this confidence for USA and for the Winnipeg Jets going towards their stretch run, that maybe we can make a deep run for the Jets playoffs in springtime and also for next year. So I think for Connor Hellebuck, it's a big referendum for what he can do as a USA goalie and as a Jets goalie going towards the final 3-4 months of this regular season.
No, you're right. The biggest game that he's played in, and he's played in big playoff games with the Jets, but they get eliminated all the time early, right? And he hasn't especially played well in the playoffs. Listen, he was 10-1 as a starter for the U.S. He never played Canada before. So he played Canada on Saturday night. Honestly, Canada didn't really test him all that much, to be honest. It's not like Hellebuck had to be spectacular. They didn't really get that many scoring chances. They scored on him early, and then they had a hard time getting shots on goal. They just they were so emotional early, they couldn't match it. But you're bang on. I was asked earlier tonight about the Winnipeg Jets, and I said, Thursday kind of has a big impact on the Jets moving forward. Hellebuck wins this game. He goes back to Winnipeg with a ton of confidence in big games, right? Being around other great players often rubs off on people. Conversely, at the other, the other side of the puck here is, let's say he doesn't play too well, right? And then it's like, oh boy, you know what I mean? Like he blew up in the championship game, but I don't think he'll blow up in the championship game. And Binnington has to not give up a bad goal, right? He makes the tough saves. He keeps them in the games. Like Cooper said, almost defensively when he was asked why Binnington's played in every game. And he goes, because he gives us a chance to win in every game. And he was sort of defensive about it. Like, no, we're not playing anybody else. Binnington's the goalie. He's let in a bad goal in every game. I'm not going to lie. It's got to be a concern. There's a little bit of, you hold your breath every time. I brought up Jose Theodore. Remember when he won the MVP, Mo? It was the same thing with him, with Theodore. Yeah, like Theodore would make crazy saves, and he would let in these weird floaters from the blue line and stuff. And it was always like, hold your breath every time. Like there was a period where it was like, oh boy, here comes a shot. We don't really know what's going to happen. I don't really have that concern with Binnington, but it's got to be a little bit of a concern. But I think, guys, that whoever won on Saturday was going to be tough to win again. Just because it's going to, get the other team in such a focused mood, like after losing. It's almost like Ohio State, Mo. I brought it up. It's like Ohio State losing to Michigan. It's like, yeah, you know what? This is gut-wrenching and this sucks, but let's use this and freaking win it all and everything, you know what I mean? I know it still bothers them. They lost. It'll be the same thing. Canada could win on Thursday, guys, and I guarantee you over beers, 5 years from now, they'll be sitting on a porch somewhere telling their buddies, man, it sucked losing that game on that Saturday night, right? Like, but it's about winning the championship, right? It's almost like there's a battle and there's the war, but what's your pick, Mo, for Thursday? Who's going to win the Four Nations on Thursday night?
I feel like Canada's going to do it, guys. There's less questions from the injury perspective. How healthy are the Kachucks, right? This whole notion is Hughes coming from Vancouver to save the day for USA's back line. I think Canada kind of has a recipe in place, but I want to see more from the third and fourth lines. If they get production from the third and fourth lines, it becomes an X factor for the Canadians to win this game. I think Canada does win this game. I think they win like a 3-1, 3-2 final score. They get that first goal in Hellebuck in the first 5-10 minutes of that game. If they do that, guys, it's all in their hands to win this tournament by Thursday night.
They need the second goal. They need the first two. Like, they need to score. They can't be chasing the game. They had a hard time chasing the game when they were down the other night. Like, the USA really, really suffocated them. Canada had never really had the puck suddenly. I think Canada's going to play a much more dump and chase style game on Thursday. Flick the puck at the net, crash the net, crash the net, crash the net, and flick the puck at the net more. They were a little bit still. They didn't change their lines yet either on Saturday, right? And they didn't have Cale Makar. There's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot going for them. USA will have the last line change, right? Technically, they're going to be the home team, but I don't think the home ice will really matter all that much. I think it's going to be pretty split, to be honest with you. I think it'll be like 50-50. And there'll be a ton, the Canadian anthem will get booed, but I don't think it's a big deal or anything. Like, if anything, it'll just sort of inspire and fire up the Canadian players like it did with the U.S. players.
How often would Marchand score this game-winning goal in that matchup? If Brad Marchand scores in Boston, what type of reception would he get from the Boston fans?
If he does, I'll take every bad word I've ever said about him back.
Ooh, that's a lot of words.
He scores the winning goal. I'll buy a jersey.
Like a scroll. I'll buy a Marchand jersey.
Slow play, drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
There's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Skovron, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn, we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience, who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The Rugby Sevens are in Vancouver this weekend, which I've always wanted to go. I say every year I'm going to go to this thing. The Rugby Sevens is cool, that tournament. The games are always super quick. You can bet on it. It's like a big sort of part. It's a massive, drinking party. But it's also, part, cosplay. Like you got like half sort of drunk rugby type fans, and the other half are like people dressed up as like Batman and Spider-Man, and like I thought it was like a Comic-Con. I asked people, "Is it a Comic-Con? What's going on?" They're like, "No, we're going to the Rugby Sevens." Yeah, no, it's true. Like a lot of people dress up. It's like a Saturday and Sunday thing. There's a million games. I would go, but I'm going to be out of town this weekend, so I'm unable to attend. But I just saw the commercial for it. It's going to be a big party. So yeah, I agree with you, Mo, as far as being a lower scoring game on Thursday night. But what was the fallout of Montreal after? Because Montreal's hosted a lot of big hockey events over the years. Well, it's been a while. I mean, you had the Stanley Cup, but it was COVID. And I mean, the arena only had like 7,000. It was different. It wasn't like all out the same passion that it normally would have been. It was strange. I was at the game, one of the games there. But like I said, Montreal had to like Montreal came off well, besides the booing stuff. Besides the booing. But like I said, the presentation, the passion, like Montreal showed what a hockey city it was. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
It was better probably than going to Toronto, right? Because Toronto would have been the suits, the $5,000 Armani suits in the first lower ball.
They wouldn't even stood up during the fights in Toronto. They wouldn't even been in their seats yet in Toronto. They would have missed the fights. Because it was too soon.
What, with the Bay Street bootlickers, as you like to call them?
Yeah. They'd be in the TD lounge there, waiting to have a drink. Oh, the game's starting.
Yeah, right. $30 roast beef sandwich. Tastes good. Yeah, you're right.
Well, Elliot Friedman even said it too. He goes, he said, I've never seen, he goes, even for a Stanley Cup final game, he goes, I've never seen as many fans as soon as they open the door. He basically said it Saturday in Montreal, like from 6 o'clock, like 6:30. It was 6:30. I think they opened the doors. He said it was packed from like the 6:30 on, Mo. Like people showed up like 2 hours before the game, man.
Look, they're hungry, Gabe. I mean, you said it before, right? They've had no actual playoff series since 2017. That's a long time for playoff hockey to go barren in the city of Montreal. But I think also what Montreal did is tell the NHL world that once they put the World Cup bids up for grabs, that the city of Montreal can host a game or two, if not the entire tournament, if they desire to do so, with it being a hub to Europe, not far away from the U.S. border. Fans from all over came to this event. I mean, George Kittle from the Niners was in town because he's tight with Phil Forsberg, right, with the Nashville Predators. So I think Montreal did a great job, outstanding job, even with the snowstorms. People still showed up in droves. So no question that they're hungry for it. And look, guys, the last time we had best on best, Team Canada's prime number of roster quality was 2014, whatever it might have been the last time at that level, or 2016 for the World Cup. So this was definitely a A+ for them. And no doubt, Montreal is eager and hungry for more playoff hockey. It may not come this year, but it may come next spring if it does happen to go the right way for the Habs in next season's NHL year.
Yeah, Habs are going backwards as soon as they got into the playoff. As soon as they got into the playoff picture, they started to lose games. But as you stated, I saw this. So for the record, the USA and Canada have played. This is going to be the fifth time that they play for a championship in international tournaments. 1991 Canada Cup, Canada won. 1996 World Cup of Hockey. That was actually in Montreal. I remember that game.
That's right.
The U.S. won. It was the only time they beat Canada. They played for the gold medal in 2002 in the Salt Lake City Olympics, and Canada won. They played for the gold medal in 2010 in the Vancouver Olympics, and Canada won. And now they're playing in 2025 in the Four Nations face-off. So every one of these have been big, along the way. Mo, it was good to catch up. Normally we don't talk hockey with Mo Khan, but there's Four Nations and stuff going on, and the fact that it was in Montreal, it had to be discussed. And not to mention, I mean, I'm going to be glad when the tournament's over, Mo and Cam. Like, there's going to be like a war is going to start over this damn hockey tournament soon. Like, the tension needs to die down after. Like, you know what I mean? And I fear that it won't. Like, either way, it's going to be bad. The best tweet I saw today is somebody posted on Twitter, and they said Thursday night is going to be the most insufferable night in the history of Twitter on Thursday night.
Oh, you're right.
One way or the other. Like, U.S. are going to talk so much smack if they beat Canada, man. Like, it's going to be ugly. And if Canada wins, the drunk Canadians are going to go running their mouths big time. We got to get this game over with. Other night, later.